Today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets with President Trump to advance talks on a ceasefire and hostage release deal for Gaza. Joining us this morning with more on this is our Washington insider, Armstrong Williams. Good morning to you, sir. This is Prime Minister Netanyahu's third trip to Washington since Trump has been back in the White House. What do we know about this potential ceasefire with Hamas?
Well, Hamas and Iran and others are encouraged that the president has been adamant with the prime minister not to fire rockets on Iran and other places as they negotiate the ceasefire. And obviously also they have something to celebrate, the success of their launch and their attack on Iran, weakening its nuclear defense system. And so the president has the upper hand. He's more popular in Israel than Prime Minister Netanyahu, but he has a lot of respect for the prime minister. And obviously, they want to talk about a ceasefire, whatever that means.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because Netanyahu says they believe there's at least 20 hostages still alive, 30 who might have been killed, and they want to bring them home. At what cost, though, and at what point will Israelis ever be safe if the goal of Hamas is to wipe out the Jewish state?
You know, it's so important to have a moral compass here, because a moral compass is the only thing that can allow you to forgive, set the 58 people that remain dead or alive with Hamas, and for Netanyahu to finally say that they paid an incredible cost for October 7th, and let's see if we can heal these wounds. Now, Jan, keep in mind, a ceasefire is maybe 60 days. It does not mean the end of the war. In my opinion, there will always be wars and conflicts in the Middle East, but right now they want to stop the killing of innocents and the destruction of the infrastructure, and then after that, let's just see what happens.
Of course, this visit, as you mentioned before, a bit of a victory lap after securing that temporary ceasefire deal with Iran. Last week was a pretty good week for the president. We also had the big, beautiful bill finally done by July 4th, as the president wanted. What does this say, Armstrong, about the power of the White House, power of the GOP, and the direction of this country?
You know, I think it says more about the power of Donald Trump and his leadership now on the world stage. We don't have the results we want from Russia and Ukraine. You see Netanyahu is here. Iran is not firing missiles after the United States launched 3 attacks on their nuclear facilities. Hamas is willing to negotiate, and they've extended an olive branch. I don't know anybody else in the world who has this kind of gravitas that could bring everybody together out of fear and respect as Donald Trump. I think it's a tribute to who he is when it comes to foreign policy and his diplomatic negotiating skills.
Yeah. And finally, I haven't talked to you since the Shawn Diddy Combs verdict came down in New York. What'd you make of this decision and really this, incessant media circus around it? Do the American people really care?
Yes. We have to respect the juror of our peers. Obviously, they did not find that he was sexually trafficking. There were new RICO charges. And while many people feel that it's a blow to women who make these kind of charges and it will scare them from coming forward, you got to respect our rule of law. You may not like it, but all of us are entitled to a fair jury, and this is the jury's outcome.
And the defense attorneys, many of whom have said this was overcharged. To try to get a RICO charge on something like this is incredibly hard. Yes,
and obviously Shawn Domes showed his gratitude in the prayers. I just did not like the baby all following the verdict. I think it's an insult. I just think sometimes you have to tap that down, because the most important opinion that remains is not the jury, but public opinions and how the public and the marketplace will embrace Shawn Domes when he comes back out of from being locked up. And because just look at Bill Cosby as an example. The most important jury is still out.
Washington insider Armstrong Williams, great to see you on this Monday. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jan.